This is Photoshop CS6. Okay, here's Bridge. Of course, this is where I do just about everything. I do not like Lightroom. I don't like the interface. To me, it's just confusing, a pain in the butt. Of course, I did not get started with Lightroom, so maybe if I took the time to like it, maybe that'd be a whole different story. But I am a Bridge and ACR guy. So if you take your images that you have in Bridge, um, you notice, like, if I want to open up this image, I right click on it and it says open in camera raw. So that image will open up in ACR. Okay. Over on the side, this is your interface. You have your temperature, which is pretty straightforward. Your tint, straightforward. Everything's pretty straightforward. It's set up almost like Lightroom, but I just like it. It's easier. The controls are bigger. It's just a much more user-friendly interface for me. Of course, your exposure, contrast, which I'd never really mess with contrast at all. Highlights is a great tool. As you can see, it does just attack the highlights in the image. Your shadow adjustment, of course, attacks nothing but the shadows, the darker whites, adjust whites, but it's kind of almost like a highlight as well, a highlight adjustment. Black, kind of the same thing as shadows. Not 100% the same, but close enough. Whites and blacks I usually do not touch whatsoever. Clarity is another thing that I don't touch. It can make an image look very soft or very harsh. Clarity I pretty much never touch unless I'm doing landscapes or something like that. Vibrance is not the same as saturation. Vibrance pretty much leaves skin tones alone and attacks everything else, as you can see as I pump this up or down. And saturation, of course, is self-explanatory. You move over a tab at the top, you got your tone curve. If you want to mess with your tone, you can grab just the highlights and make an adjustment. This is, again, something I never mess with. I never have a need to mess with this. Or you can drag and draw and change your linear curve or for strong contrast and things like that. Again, nothing I ever mess with. Your details, I don't mess with this either. I have my own noise reduction and sharpening that I do outside of ACR in Photoshop. So, but if you want to use this, you can. It does a pretty good job. Convert to grayscale if you want to turn it black and white. Okay, pretty straightforward. One thing I do like about it is you have the adjustments of reds, so you can go in and make adjustments to make your image look better. Has an auto feature, which is okay. Not something that I fully recommend. A lot of times, though, I don't convert to grayscale until I get into Photoshop. Split toning, something I never mess with. Lens correction, you can enable lens profiles here to pick your lens out and stuff like that, so it can make adjustments if needed. Again, nothing that I mess with in ACR. Effects, the only thing I use in here, I don't touch grain ever, is the vignette. I put a vignette on every image that I send out. Not always do I use what's in ACR. Sometimes I use in Nik software because they have a much better tool. But for an image like this, as you can see around the edges of the image here, that there is a slight vignette. You don't want to go crazy. It looks horrible. Vice versa the other way. Something to grab the attention and draw your eye to your subject. If your subject is not sort of in the middle, this is not the best tool for it. Okay, that's where I would go into Nik software and use something there. Camera calibration, again, is something I never mess with. You can, if this was a raw image, you could go in and make some adjustments here. Here are a huge amount of presets and stuff that I have downloaded for free, that if you want to go in and make changes, you can. They're okay. There's not a lot that can be done in ACR when it comes to stuff like this. I don't use them, frankly. Okay, everything that I do is when I take the image into Photoshop is where I will mess with all that. Over here, you can see if I click right here, I can go in and restore the image. Okay, apply presets if you want straight from here. Um, Reset camera for all defaults. On this last tab is snapshots. Honestly, couldn't tell you what it is, never used it. Okay, down here at the bottom though, right along the very bottom, click on that, and you need to make sure that this is set up the way you want it when it opens your image. Adobe RGB, 8 bits is where I leave it. Image resizing, I don't mess with this here, but I do put at 300 resolution, 300 pixels, okay? So when you open, you can also open it up as a smart object. I don't mess with smart objects that much unless I'm doing some pretty intense uh, editing in a landscape or nature picture, okay? So Photoshop, click open, and over here you can see open image, cancel, done. If you want to, if you make an adjustment and you want it to stay there, you click done, okay? So let me crank the exposure way up. I click done and I go and watch, it'll pop it up and it'll show the preview. Okay, I do not want that, so I'm going to open it back up, put it back down to 0, click done, and you can see it reverts back, okay? So right click on the image, open in camera raw, pops up in ACR. This is where I do 99% of my editing is right here, okay? Especially when clients send me pictures to edit, almost everything is done in here. If I need to open the image, I open it up. It takes it straight into Photoshop. Maybe. Give it a second here. It's brought into Photoshop. Nick is what I use for the remainder pretty much of my editing. Okay, as I was talking about the darken and lighten center, we click on that, Nick opens up, and this is where you can get detail and specifics, I guess, is more what I'm trying to say in lightening and darkening the image. I have a lot of customers who say they're very pleased that my images, because the subject stands out. This is very important, I think, in photography. I can place the center right over here. It's too much dark, and you can see that it lightened it here just a little bit and darkened it around the edge. She stands out as a subject. There's so many times where I see a flat image like this. The subject doesn't stand out as much as she should. A little bit makes your subject stand out, and that's the whole point of photography, is to make your subject stand out. Okay, so I'm just going to click cancel here. All of my actions that I run pretty much are all here in Photoshop. I've wrote my own. I do like Florabella and botanical blends. I use a lot of those. I think for retouching skin and stuff like that, the Florabella retouch is phenomenal. Okay, it has almost everything you need, from skin to eyes to teeth. As you can see, her teeth really aren't all that white. So if I go in and I look for teeth, actually, let me grab it because I've moved it up here. I'll whiten and brighten teeth. Click play, run the action. Just takes just a second. The action's ran. I can go into her teeth. Let me make my brush soft and lower it down just a little bit. As you can see, I can go in and brighten her teeth. This is just real quick. Adjust the opacity, bring it down. Go back out to full view, and you can see just a little bit on her teeth. Let me bring it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. We don't want to make them snow white. It looks ridiculous. It looks fake. A lot of times people take things a little too far. Skin, eyes, teeth make you look fake, make you look like a Barbie doll. And of course, that is not an image that we want to portray either. Our subject is to remain similar to what they look like. You don't want grandma looking at a picture and be like, it doesn't even look like my granddaughter. It's not the point. Okay, the point is to take what they have, make them just a little better. Nothing more than putting on makeup. Okay, adjust the eyes a little bit, adjust the whiteness in the eyes. Of course, this one I haven't done all that in. The teeth, remove a blemish. All that stuff, it can almost be done in ACR, and I'll show you real fast. It's just not user friendly, I don't think, in ACR. Let me grab this. We'll open this up. You've got some tools across the top. A white balance tool that you could click if you have a gray card, and you can click and make an adjustment to get your white balance. Okay, I'm going to leave it just like I had it. This is a color sampling tool if you want to pick a particular color. Target adjustment tool. I can take and grab her skin and darken her skin if I want. So basically click, hold, move down, move up. Next is a crop tool, which I really do like the crop tool here, because once you make the crop, and you turn it, it remains within the borders, okay, of the image. It doesn't go outside like Photoshop will, okay? So if you want to make a nice crop out of that, you can hit enter, and you've got a nice crop, okay? Control-Alt-Z reverts that back. Here's a straighten tool. If you want to straighten an image, you just draw a line across something that's supposed to be straight, click enter, and it straightens the image out. Spot removal, okay? This is ACR's version of Photoshop's clone tool, I guess. So let's bring this image up. We'll zoom up a little bit. So if we wanted to go in and, I hate the way this works. We'll work on that section of our nose. We're going to grab this, move it up here somewhere with the similar color tones, and it takes care of that. You could go over here, similar color tones, okay. Hit enter. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me open this back up. Okay. Once we go over just a little bit more, we have red eye removal, so we could go in and touch up red eye if need be. Does a pretty good job. This was actually shot with a ring flash, so there was a little red eye in this picture. Normally, it's not something that I ever have to worry about. Adjustment brush. I love this tool. It is by far the best thing in ACR. Okay, I absolutely love it. Her hair up here, let's say we want to add a little highlight to it. We go over here and we click on the plus for exposure, and we can go in and we can just highlight her hair a little bit. It's an awesome, awesome tool. Okay, it's like I said, it's by far the best tool in ACR, I think. Let's say we wanted to darken this arm down here, because it does bring your attention to it, which is not what we want. Okay, so we're going to click down on exposure, right click, move it to the right, and you see the brush gets larger. Okay, you want feather, I'd take feather always all the way up, flow half, density 100, and we'll just darken that up. And it's too much. You can see it trash the quality of her skin. So we're going to bring it up just a little bit to about right there. Perfect. Okay, it's just an awesome, awesome tool. If we wanted to darken her eyes up in that area a little bit, to reset it, and you can just move it too. You can click down. Let's say you go in and you make all these adjustments here, and you want to reset it. I just click one of them. Okay, click exposure down. It resets all of them. And then you could go in here, and if you wanted to touch that up, again, way too much. Okay. If you wanted to darken this section over here, exposure down. I'll lower my brush down, and you can just go in and paint. Okay. There's an auto mask, which works okay in certain areas. Let's say we want to do her hair but not the background. So we go into the hair. As long as we've clicked on the hair, it will normally do pretty good about staying in just the hair. See, I go over here in the white, it doesn't show. I'll show the mask, and you can see, let me change the color of it. It's on white. We'll go to red. Okay. Sometimes it works good, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. I always just leave it off. Okay. I don't like the auto mask all the time, so I just leave it off. Hit clear all, we'll take all that away. Here's a gradient filter. So if you wanted to do an exposure and you wanted to start here, you could do a gradient on certain images if you want. Flip it around. You could do, you know, saturation, whatever. Okay. Open Preferences dialog. This is where you go in and change all your stuff that you want to change. Okay, I'm not going to go through all that. The only thing I do suggest is save images settings in a sidecar. Okay, that takes your image and sets it next to the images that are the work that you've done in ACR. Okay, so it's attached to a sidecar. And let me cancel this and see. Let me get to where it is. Samantha. Okay, see all these XMPs? These are sidecars. This is the original image here. Attached the image or all the work that I did in ACR. Okay, so the image has been worked in a non-destructive way. It has not been touched specifically. Okay, the XMP file is what ACR uses when it opens it up and shows the work that you've done. Okay, if you want to trash everything you did, you could just delete the XMP file and be done with it. Okay, if you like to work on multiple computers and you use a hard drive, okay, a portable hard drive, keep the XMP files with it. You can that way your work goes from computer to computer in a non-destructive manner. So I always do, again, open in camera raw, sidecar XMPs. Okay, everything else I pretty much just leave the way it is. JPEGs and TIFFs automatically open and leave things as they are. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'd be glad to help you.